So as we reflect on the three presentations that we just heard, and certainly myself in listening and viewing some of the slides and thinking about the passion behind each of their presentations, I myself saw a lot of similarities, and I also saw some things that were substantially different than as I look at my profession. What we hope that the three presentations you just heard will do is to stimulate your creativity for rethinking investments in recruitment, in-service development, and career pathways that are crucial in all professions seeking to attract and retain the top talent. And as we just heard, each of those three industries certainly face talent development challenges like we do in education. With the desire to build a better pipeline of high-quality teachers in North Carolina schools, we're better to start than by looking at how we recruit and prepare our top talent into classrooms across the state. Whether it be through traditional schools of education, lateral entry programs, or alternative certificate routes, developing and establishing effective pedagogical practices, as well as establishing professional standards, are critical in establishing a world-class teaching workforce. Now we're going to turn to two individuals who share deep insights on how North Carolina can bring the most promising candidates into the field of education, whether it's by identifying those college students at the undergraduate level who display a strong aptitude and passion for teaching, or young professionals wishing to find purpose in the classroom. Our next panelists understand how to recruit the next generation of world-class educators as how we prepare them for the classrooms. Glenda Crawford is coming out and joining us, is a professor in the School of Education and the director of the Teaching Fellows Program at Elon University. Teaching both undergraduate and graduate courses in the School of Education, she's been a visiting professor around the world, and Dr. Crawford is recognized for her research and experience in the topic of learner-centered pedagogy, critical thinking, differentiated instructional design, and middle-level teacher preparation. She was recognized in 2011 and selected as the North Carolina Professor of the Year by CASE, the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, and the Council for Advancement and Support of Education. We're delighted to have you with us, Glenda. Thank you.
Very much.
And Glenda brought her fan club with her, which is great. We're delighted to have Tyronna Hooker join the stage at this time. Ty serves as the Director of District and Community Partnerships for the Eastern North Carolina region of Teach for America. Recognized for her tireless commitments to student success, Ty works to place dedicated, aspiring teachers in some of the highest need schools of Eastern North Carolina. Having entered teaching through an alternative pathway after working for many years in the criminal justice system, Ty spent 9 years teaching social studies students and exceptional children before being named the 2011 North Carolina Teacher of the Year. Prior to joining Teach for America, she directed the Teaching Fellows Program at North Carolina Central University, where she continues to teach an education course. So let's give them another round warm of welcome. So let me start out with perhaps both of you. As author Malcolm Gladwell has pointed out, predicting the ideal teacher candidate, the one who will result in that highly effective classroom educator, is a difficult task. Describe, if you will, for us what you see as the ideal successful teacher candidate.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for inviting us here today. It's a pleasure to be with Tyronna, my good friend, on this panel. At Elon, we have a philosophy for our teacher candidates. We believe that our successful teacher candidates are knowledgeable professionals who inquire, who reflect, and who take action in a global community. These are the beliefs that form our conceptual framework, and they also form the basis for our learning outcomes for our student candidates. If I can elaborate a little bit on these. We believe that our teacher candidates, to be successful, have an in-depth knowledge of the subject matters that they teach. They understand relevant pedagogy, and they put this knowledge into use to truly design practice that maximize student learning. They use a variety of instructional strategies that are varied and interactive, and they use these procedures incorporating technology to truly promote student learning and assess student learning. Very importantly, our students understand that they need to be proactive in learning about students' families and learning about communities in which they are working, and use this information to inform practice. And they continually reflect on their teaching, always making appropriate and ethical decisions in favor of improving student learning. We also believe that our students, successful ones, know how to create a positive and inclusive learning environment, one with high expectations for the success, not just academic, but social and emotional, of all students in that classroom. And our teachers, we feel like, are successful as leaders when they take responsibility as advocates for educational change, for working together with colleagues to improve schools. And also, these successful candidates continue to learn, continue to grow through professional experiences, and they also embrace and really respect the educational profession. And if I might say, my little cheering squad out there, we have 18 of our junior teaching fellows here today, and I think they can attest to the fact that we have these high standards for them and high hopes for their preparation in the program.
Excellent. Thank you. Ty, from your experiences.
Our mission is to make sure that every child in Eastern North Carolina, well, in North Carolina, especially the 50 plus growing up in poverty in Eastern North Carolina, have the opportunity to an excellent education. So when we begin to think about the characteristics or the traits that are needed to be successful, leadership matters. Critical thinking skills, that they share the background of the students, that they're culturally aware, that they have the ability to build relationships across lines of differences, that our teachers come in with a mission-aligned mindset to make transformational change take place in Eastern North Carolina or North Carolina in general. In order to do this, it is the belief that every child can learn, that every child has the opportunity to not just get to college, but through college. So as we think about the characteristics that are needed, it is leadership, it is the ability to establish relationships, it is an investment in the community at large. It is to create the mindset that stakeholders become involved, our students, the faculty, the staff, and the community. It takes advocacy on all parts in order to ensure that children have the opportunity to an excellent education.
This morning, in the materials that we've received here at the forum, we heard earlier from Dr. Pasi Sahlberg, Finland's successfully recruits students into its teacher education program from the top 10 to 20% of its high school students. How does this compare to the recruitment efforts within each of your programs and how you go about recruiting?
Go ahead. Well, Finland's program is very comparable to what we do at Elon in recruiting our national teaching fellows. We work closely with admissions to target top high school students, top performing high school students from across the nation. These folks are interested in becoming teachers and becoming leaders in the profession. We invite prospective teachers to come on, fellows to come on campus to compete for 20 scholarships during our Fellow Scholarship Weekend. So students are coming really from all over the country to compete for these. And our selection process involves not only looking at their high school records and academic performance and service and leadership, but also when they come to campus on this weekend, what are our first impressions, our initial impressions of them in informal settings? And then when they go through faculty interviews and write responsive essays to academic seminars, we look at their more academic performance. We look at the whole person and make a determination of who to invite to issue the scholarships. One phenomenon that we found in this weekend is that we sell not only our Teaching Fellows program, but we also promote our teacher education. And many of the students who can't or do not make the 20 issue the scholarships come to Elon anyway because of our teacher education program, and that makes us proud.
Tyronna?
And for our organization, we couple with our admissions and recruiting as well. And what we are looking for much as the same as Elon University. We're looking for people who are prepared to create transformational change. So as we begin to look at that, we think about diverse backgrounds, we think about their grit, their resolve, their perseverance, organization skills, and their deep belief in educational equity. The academic standards, of course, are there. It is a very competitive process in order to be accepted into Teach for America. But our ultimate goal is, again, to make sure that every child has the opportunity to a quality education in North Carolina.
Glenda, according to the UNC Teacher Quality Research Report on entry portals, North Carolina private undergraduate schools of education programs are the 4th largest source of teachers in North Carolina, behind the UNC system as a whole, out-of-state candidates, and alternative entry. In addition, slightly less than 80% stay in the classroom for 3 years, while about approximately 70% persist for at least 5 years. What are you doing at Elon University to not only prepare more teachers for the classroom, but what do you think you can do to help them better prepare and resulting in higher retention rates?
Okay, thank you. A hallmark of our experience in teacher education at Elon would be the opportunity for early field experiences. As early as the freshman year, the first year, our students take a course that is a pre-program course in which there is an internship. So they go into classrooms and they realize the complexity of being in a public school classroom. The experience may not be quite like their own experience, but they get a good first-hand taste of that. That's prior to admission. Then they can be admitted into teacher ed as early as this freshman year, that spring semester, so they can make that decision. Also, they're assigned an academic advisor in education, so they're mentored along that way. Also, many of our courses have field-based experiences, academic service learning experiences. For example, you may have read about It Takes a Village. This is an initiative through an advanced literacy class where our students tutor struggling readers in the community and work with their parents. So these are some examples of some experiences that are early on and continually that we feel like give them good exposure to what is real life in the classroom. And then in the senior year, they have a year-long internship that begins with methods and ends with student teaching, so there's a seamless experience there. So we think this immersion into the real world of the classroom early on and continuously and developmentally is critical, and that's helped us.
Very good.
One more thing I was
Sure.
going to say, if I don't mind, excuse me. With our Teaching Fellows program, I'll just speak to that. Our students are required to do 20 hours of tutoring in schools, and that adds sort of some value added there. And they experience a semester-long study abroad in schools in London, Costa Rica, Spain, and France. And they are involved in an internship and a comparative issues education class seminar. So that gives them added experience working with students in schools.
Very good. Thank you. Ty, if you will, share with us from the Teach for America perspective some of the statistics on the number of teachers Teach for America has been able to attract to Eastern North Carolina and where these teachers are working and any other statistical information you think is important for us to know about.
We partner with school districts and communities for almost 25 years now in Eastern North Carolina. We started with a core size of about 20, and approximately now we have 275 core members that are in their first and second year of teaching. We partner with 77 principals across 15 LEAs and help them with the hiring process last year of 180 teachers. What I'd like to say for just a moment is that we partner with communities. So we are not just placing teachers there, but we are creating an investment. The ultimate goal of Teach for America is to make sure that there are quality teachers in every classroom. We have a young lady, and I'll just share this briefly, that is in Washington County. Her prep changed in January, so she went from teaching one class to providing interventions for a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade class in math and co-teaching algebra. But rather than that being a source of defeat for her, because of her mindset, she began to figure out how she could have the students to buy into the progress monitoring, that she could create a system in order to have them invest in their own education. So statistically, it may not always show, but as we look across our communities and as we watch our students begin to grow academically and the success that is taking place, That speaks volumes about the core members that we are placing there and the 275 who remain in North Carolina. And our hope is for all of them to teach beyond 2. So there's a very strong recruitment model right now that we'd like for them to come to North Carolina, fall in love with North Carolina, and remain here.
Right, very good, very good. I'd like to ask both of you to reflect on the fact that according to the same UNC Teacher Quality Report, Teach for America and Teaching Fellows teachers are the most effective source of early career teachers in North Carolina. What aspects of your programs do you feel are scalable and should be considered for adoption within North Carolina's School of Education program and quite frankly, the larger state as it looks at it? So start with either one of you.
Okay. I'd like to reiterate that I think our early experiences in the field, getting right to the action of being involved in the classroom, are carefully sequenced from being in a classroom early on to observe and assist and really decide whether you want to really stay and pursue teacher education, to where you get more involved in various ways through methods and learning pedagogy and practicing that, all the way through to the student teaching and that total immersion. I think that over the 4 years really gives a strong, and that's something that can be carefully thought out and designed within a curriculum without adding resources.
Ty?
And I think of our teachers as leadership model, which helps us, and it provides a manager of teacher leadership development for each one of our core members. And I haven't seen it done in a lot of districts where teachers are being coached into leadership. And it doesn't require a lot of additional resources, but it's an opportunity to make sure that teachers are growing in the classroom. Because ultimately, in order for us to move our students where we need them to be, we need leaders in the classroom, people who are able to think critically, who are able to assess the situation, who are the drivers of what's going to take place in the building.
Okay. We say this oftentimes, but we want you both to put your hat on for just a minute. And the constraint is, without substantially additional resources, what do you see as some 1 or 2 barriers to teacher recruitment here for us in North Carolina that you think can be broken down with a lot of new additional resources? What kind of little nuggets do you have for us of what we can do statewide and perhaps in a local district?
I think a key barrier is the public perception of the teaching profession. I think we need a grassroots campaign to change the way the teaching profession is viewed in North Carolina. Teachers need to be valued and openly appreciated by community, by parents, by policymakers, by the media, by those in public office, by politicians. It might require a paradigm shift, but I don't see it being extra resources. I think it's a mindset that would make teachers feel more empowered and more valued, a stronger voice, more professional. And I would think that would not only attract teachers into the field, but also keep them there.
And I agree with Dr. Crawford. I think our conversation has to change. Oftentimes, even when people entertain the idea of going into the teacher profession, there is this moment of silence, almost a sense of pity. And I think that, yes, bless your soul. And I think that education or being a teacher is the most noble of all professions. It is an opportunity to change the destiny of many students. When I think about what could be done that may not necessarily require extra resources, I think of leadership opportunities. It is the belief in North Carolina that every excellent teacher must go into administration. And I would like for there to be some type of opportunity for leadership within the building, that maybe they become the drivers of the curriculum that is being implemented in their buildings. Maybe there's a blended model and they're a coach for a portion of the day and they teach the rest of the day. I think the PLCs are definitely beginning to move us in that direction, but I see so many amazing teachers who the only opportunity for leadership is outside the classroom or outside of that particular building. And every skill set is not suited to administration. So I would love to see there be an opportunity for teachers to be drivers, for teachers to collaborate, for teachers to create this rich environment in which we choose to work. Oftentimes as a teacher, you enter the building and there is a powerless feeling, but we are the most powerful people there. So I would like for there to be an opportunity for leadership to be allowed to our teachers.
We have time remaining for one final question, and I think it kind of asks you all to continue to dig deep in your creative side of things and maybe pulling some things together that you've already mentioned to us. And that's the whole thing of what do you see that North Carolina, as well as our universities and school district and community partnerships, could consider implementing that would positively impact the pipeline as well as the retention of those teachers that move them and keep them with us beyond year 3 and year 5.
Well, I think just as we think about the preparation of teachers at the undergraduate level as developmental, I think we need to think about the initial years of the teaching profession as being developmental. Teachers need support, they need mentoring, they need just general advocacy. So thinking about they are growing, they're getting their wings, they are trying to develop their skills and go on in the profession that way. And I'm real concerned that a lot of the incentives are being taken away from the teachers that provide this support system, such as the incentive to follow for advanced degrees, the mentoring programs. I think all of these should be put into place. Now that does involve some money, but I think general support and advocacy, like we said, changing the mindset and the perception would be pretty important.
Final word, Ty.
Agreeing again with Dr. Crawford, who was an instructor in my master's program, so I will always be very respectful to her. I agree, it is, how can we create the belief that once you are educated, you don't leave the community, but you come back to the community? That there is opportunity there to make a difference. And I know that resources matter and money matters, and so I'll tread gently on that, but compensation is important. And it's a comprehensive compensation, and not just salary, but that matters, but also the opportunity, again, for teaching to be seen as a difference, for teachers to be valued, for it to not be this belief that that's all you can do, when that is the most powerful thing you can do. So in order to recruit the best and the brightest, there has to be opportunity. And I go right back to this leadership opportunity, that you are not just confined to the classroom, but that you can effect change anywhere in your building. And how can we have the community, the politicians, all of the leaders know that teaching is still important? And how can we as a profession have the opportunity to grow and develop in such a manner in which people know that teaching matters?
Well, it's been a pleasure sitting here, learning from you and listening about what's happening at Elon, updates from Teach for America. We're grateful for everything you've done. Shall we thank our 2 panelists? Thank you.